Will Diep's mother agree to let Diep love James? When he knew his daughter was hurt, Diep's mother immediately went to confront James's father. She could not hide her pain when remembering the insults that the James family once dedicated to their daughter. She blamed him for preventing their love, looked down on the poor background of the leaf. But when he knew that it was Diep who saved Chagoat's life, he gradually realized his mistake and wanted to make amends. However, Mother Diep still insisted on bringing her daughter home. She worried that James really loved her daughter, but the difference in family background can cause Diep to suffer. After that, she doesn't want her child to enter a rich family, but full of prejudice. James was not shaken by the firmness of his mother Diep. He knelt before her. "I sincerely ask for permission to take care of and protect Diep for life." He admitted he had failed to protect her before, but now I will spend my whole life to make up for it. Not only that, James' father also decided to go to his mother's house to apologize. Diep's son shows the real change of his family. Are James's actions sincere? Enough to convince Mother Diep she can let go of the past to believe. "Entrust my daughter to you." Diep's mother looked at James, her eyes still full of vigilance. She can't easily trust a rich man because she has seen too many stories. Love broken because of status difference. She sighed and spoke slowly. "He said he would protect her for life. But are you sure? Wealth is not everything. Her happiness is all I care about. If one day you have no money, no longer famous, are you still with him?" James looked her straight in the eye without hesitation. "I don't just love Diep because she is gentle and kind, but because she is the one I want to be with for the rest of my life. Whether poor or rich, whether success or failure, I will still hold her hand." Diep's mother was silent. She knew James was not the type to let go easily. But the worry in her heart has not yet subsided. She turned to her daughter. "What about you Diep? Do you really want to be with him?" Diep clenched his hands and spoke with determination. "Mom, I love James. He has gone through a lot for me. I believe we can get through anything together." She looked at her daughter, then at James, and finally sighed. "Okay, but you have to promise me one thing, James." James nodded quickly. "Yes, sir, just say." "If one day she suffers because of you, I will never forgive you." James smiled with determination in his eyes. "Don't worry, I won't let that day happen." Diep's mother said nothing more, but her eyes softened. She knows no matter how worried, her daughter's love has a choice. And this time she decided to trust James. Is their love really smooth? When there are so many challenges ahead, what will James do to protect this love from the coming storms? Although Diep's mother reluctantly accepted, But James understood that to really gain her trust, you need to prove it by action. James tries to please to Diep's mother. The following days, James actively helps the family more. He not only took her to the market, but also do manual labor like chopping wood, clean up the yard. The garden even helps to Diep harvest crops. At first she seemed surprised, but then she just silently observed. A rich CEO is not afraid to get his hands dirty, not afraid of hardship to integrate into rural life. This made her gradually have a different view of James. One afternoon, while James was helping to Diep carry the bag of rice, her mother suddenly spoke up. "Are you used to this life of deprivation?" James stopped to wipe his sweat and smiled. "I think nothing is difficult if you really want to do it. Just need to Diep by my side. I can get used to anything." To Diep's mother did not answer, but the corners of her lips lifted slightly. The last trial of mother to Diep. One day her mother called her out to the garden. She gave him a knife and pointed to the vegetables in front of her. "You want to marry my daughter. So today you cut vegetables and weed yourself. If you do well, I will reconsider our relationship." James looked at the green vegetable bed, then looked down at his designer clothes. He did not hesitate to kneel down and start working. Diep ran out to help, but her mother stopped her. This is a challenge for him. If he can't do it, that is. Not patient enough to take care of children for life. James said nothing and just continued working. His hands were not used to this work. Scratches appeared, but he persisted. Finally, when the job was done, I breathed a sigh of relief. Muddy hands give the results to mother to Diep. She held the bunch of vegetables, looked at it for a long time, then nodded. "Okay, I accept you. But remember, if one day you hurt her, I will be the first to stop you." Goat smiling, eyes shining with sincerity. "I will not let that day happen." Diep looked at James with tears glistening in the corners of her eyes. She knew this man really loved her and are willing to do anything to protect their love. But is this the end? Or the storm is still waiting for them ahead? The storm is starting to come. After gaining acceptance from Zie's mother, James thought everything would be fine. But the real challenge has just begun. John did not give up his intention to harm James. In a corner of a luxury cafe, John took a sip of red wine. Cold eyes looking at the phone screen. Photos of James working at Diep's house appeared clearly before him. He even condescended to do despicable farm work. John gritted his teeth and threw the glass hard on the floor. Wine splashed. "Good job, James. You just wait and see. I will make you lose everything, including the girl you love." He immediately called a mysterious person. "Get ready. I want to destroy James' reputation immediately." James is having trouble at work. Soon after, James's company encountered a series of problems. Important partner suddenly canceled the contract. Investors withdrew capital one after another for unknown reasons. Media suddenly released the news. James' company is embroiled in a financial scandal. In a tense meeting, Secretary Tuan hurriedly reported, "Dear CEO, there is someone behind the manipulation. I suspect that there is a force that is deliberately trying to sabotage the company." James clenched his fists, only one name in his head. He stood up with a determined look. Cannot let him do whatever he wants. I will investigate this myself. But as James was about to leave, his phone rang. Is a strange number. Scary threat. James picked up the phone. On the other end of the line was a cold voice. "If you still stick. If you come to the Diep, I swear you will pay dearly." The sound of the rooster crowing. James clenched his phone, his eyes flashing with murderous intent. Who called to threaten John or someone else? Can James protect his love? Before the coming storms. Ominous warning. James stood motionless for a long time. In mind deep into the sentence, just heard over the phone. Someone wants to warn you, wants you to stay away from the Diep. But he is not an easy man to subdue. Before the threats, he quickly dialed back. But the other end of the line was turned off. Anger flared up in my heart. But James knew he couldn't act rashly. Just then Tuan walked in with a worried face. My boss just got the news. Company shares continue to fall sharply. Someone is manipulating the market and trying to crash them. Facing. Grown frown. Continue to investigate for me. I want to know who is behind this. Diep felt uneasy. Into Diep's hometown, he still didn't know what was happening. She just felt that James had been less in touch lately. Sometimes it takes a long time for a message to be responded to. Her mother noticed that and asked, "What's up with you and James?" Diep shook his head. "No, he is just busy, Mom." But she had a bad feeling in her heart. That evening, when she was cleaning her mother's small shop, a strange man appeared. He wore a hat that covered his face. "Come closer and put a piece of paper on the table. Take this as a warning." After saying that, he turned and left. Diep trembled as she opened the paper. There was only a scribble on it. "Stay away from the game if you don't want bad things to happen." Her heart was beating wildly as her hand clenched the paper. Who is threatening her, and does James know about this? James refused to give up. At the office, James received an anonymous message with similar content. "That girl will be in danger if you don't stop." This time James couldn't sit still any longer. He left the company immediately. Drive straight to Diep's hometown. When he arrived, he saw her standing in front of the shop, hand still holding threatening note. Her eyes were red and her face was confused. James stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry, I should have protected you sooner." Diep squeezed his hand, her voice trembling. "I'm not afraid, but someone is trying to separate us." James looked deep into her eyes, his voice full of determination. "No matter what happens, I will never leave you. I will find out who is behind all this." But can James protect Diep from the enemy's plot? And who is behind these threats?